Good afternoon. The House now resumes. Please be seated. Thank you. We'll continue with the debate. I'll call on the Honorable Member for Central Badibu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. Madam Speaker, I would like to acknowledge CRC for the wonderful job done. And I also want to thank National Assembly members for coming up with such an important act. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank Gambian people for the cooperation shown during the entire process, those at home and those abroad. Honorable Speaker, before coming to my points or the reasons why I will give my blessing to these important bills, I would like to quote from the preamble of the Constitution, which says that as a sovereign independent state, having had the opportunity to express our views and aspirations on how we wish to be governed, affirm that this Constitution is the embodiment of our will and resolve for democracy, good governance, separation of powers, sustainable environment, and equitable distribution and use of resources, the rule of law, equality, and observance of principles of fundamental human rights and freedoms. Being committed to freedom, justice, accountable government, and overall respect for the rule of law, recognize and affirm the principle that all power vests in and emanate only from the sovereign will of the people, which shall be respected at all times. Recognizing the value of enshrined fundamental human rights and freedom in this Constitution, undertake to ensure the observance of those rights and freedoms. Recognizing and appreciating our values as a people of diversity, collectively declare and affirm our duties and responsibilities as citizens of the Gambia and our love and commitment to each other to foster and promote national unity, cohesion, and peace. In this spirit and in the name of God and the Almighty, adopt, enact, and give ourselves unto our future generation this Constitution as a beacon of hope, stability, and national unity, progress, peace, and prosperity. Madam Speaker, the preamble speaks for itself. The tax that we have here today is not a difficult tax as far as I'm concerned. Our role is well clear in our standing order. We have created a body. We gave them all the necessary powers. We equipped them. And they have done what we expected from them. Honorable Speaker, it should be borne in mind that in writing a constitution, you have your reference points. The people who are mandated to carry out this task put the following into consideration. Meaningful engagements were done. Opinions of political and constitutional writers were consulted. Constitution of the Gambia, both 1970 and 1997, was consulted. And constitution of other countries as well. Customs and conventions, previous constitutions or judicial precedents, consequent assembly. These are the sources of constitution. In anywhere you are writing constitution, you must get your sources. And I believe CRC have done justice to the cause, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I will also want to quote from CRC in the report The democratic and peaceful change of government had happened in December 2016 was a watershed moment in the history of the Gambia and indeed African politics. The advent of the new government of President Adam Barrow in January 2017 brought very high hopes in many Gambians that the country was embarking on an important journey to build a democratic, just, and prosperous society. Madam Speaker, this is a journey, and we are part of the journey. This should be a collective responsibility. It's not a battle between 1997 Constitution and 2020 draft. It's a battle for development. It's a battle for progress. And I have high regard for all the honorable members who made contributions, expressing their opinions. But at the end of the day, your opinions should not shatter the hopes and aspirations of Gambian people. We all might have our observations, but the history must not be arrested here. The development must not be arrested. As progressive people, I think we can come to consensus and follow the procedures that are stipulated in our standing orders. If you go to standing order 70, made it categorically clear. We need to debate on the object, and when we reach to the committee stage, we can propose amendments. If majority said we amend A or B, then we can do so. Then at the end of the day, the citizens has to decide. But to make an attempt to do an abortion here is going to be catastrophic. Please, honorable members, let us not attempt to do abortion. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution, the draft Constitution is progressive since the engagement was very transparent and open to the Gambian people. There is no single stakeholders that we are not consulted during the review process. Honorable Speaker, the fundamental rights, the rights that we are born with, the natural rights, are all enshrined in this draft Constitution, and they are well safeguarded. Members talk about separation of powers. Yes, the time that Montesquieu, the French philosopher, was having this idea of separation of powers. But the checks and balances that came after, even if Montesquieu is alive here, he will support the checks and balances that are enshrined in this Constitution. Separation of powers was done in a way that so that institutions will be responsible to their work, so that there will not like duplication of functions. But that doesn't mean that we will not have eye on them. Checks and balance come so that no single institution will have absolute power to abuse the authority of the people. Because we all know that power is drug. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's why we have the checks and balances. This is not a competition between the legislature and the executive. We are not here to arm the executive, to arm the legislature to control the executive so that they would not do their functions. No. We want to create a power balance. Honorable members, let's pay a visit to history. We shouldn't forget so soon. Honorable Speaker, the powers of the presidents, we are well articulated. In clause 88, if you go there, all the powers are there that the president can use to develop a country. What powers are you now talking about? It will be disappointing to say that all the powers are taken from the executive. No. Powers are not taken from them. That's why sometimes I believe we don't read. Somebody said, they want to, people outside want to control us. It's better they read more than we do. If you read well, you will know that the powers are there. The reason why we are called honorable men and women sometimes some of the members, they don't want to be called honorable. Yes, I can see the reason. If the decision is not honorable, the ideas are not honorable, then you will not like to be called honorable. Honorable Speaker, if you go to the Constitution, the term limit is well specified. And in 2015, there was a meeting, ECOWAS meeting, AU meeting, Gambia was represented. Gambia and Togo refused this term limit. So if we abort this Constitution, it means that National Assembly members are not also supporting term limit. This is the same message that we are telling Gambian people and the world at large. And it should be borne in mind that Gambia is not an island. We are moving and we must move as a country. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution is religious friendly. There is no single religion that is given the power to abuse other religion. If you look at section 3 of the draft, Clause 3, the Gambia comprises people of different faith, and every faith shall be respected and treated fairly without any discrimination. What do we want again? We are the people who should educate our masses. We are the people who should clear their house. If we are not educated, we are also misleading, because some of the statements that we make, they are misleading statements. I'm sorry to say. We are not here to interpret the law, but we are here to understand the law. Honorable Speaker, political parties, in the new draft, we can see to it that accountability and transparency is enshrined in. So the political party, we will know their source of funding. Who is going against that? If the political parties serve as the alternative government or the government in waiting, they are not transparent, nobody knows how they are getting their funds. If those people come to power, what will they do to us? I think we need to entertain that. These are the new elements that are not found in 1997 Constitution. Nobody is claiming that 1997 Constitution is totally wrong, but it needs to be adjusted. Of recent, a private member bill came here. Why did we bring up that private member bill? Because we felt that there's lacuna in the local government. And a lot of bills came here. So that shows that we all agree as parliament to have CRC. I could vividly remember only few who proposed that we can do piecemeal amendment. But we all said no. Let us have the entire review. So today, if we shall, or we should come here and say A should be removed, B should, at the end of the day, one of the honorable members said, what we might remove here might not be the wish of the people. So that also has a lot of implications that we need to look at. But this constitution, this is the Gambian people constitution. Let's give them that opportunity to design. And there is, I can test that. No MP did a political opinion poll on your people. Maybe if 10 people call you from your constituency, is that a proper representation? Support or not support? No. So quoting saying that my people call me, no. Please, let us be sincere to ourselves. They might call you, but they are not the true representative of the constituency. You should do real opinion collection and see if majority say this, you say that. Honorable Speaker, principle of decentralization is also captured in devolution of powers. We want to equip our local government authorities. And the new constitution has given us that opportunity. So that we will have proper decentralization. So that development will be coordinated at the grassroots. So that everybody will have a sense of belonging. The 1997 Constitution also have it. It talks about decentralization. So you can see there are a lot of things borrowed from 1997 Constitution. That's why I'm saying unless we are not reading, But if we are reading, we can see a lot of similarities. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution is youth-friendly, as one of the honorable members said. We talk about youths are the cream of the society. They are the today's and future generation, future leaders. And the youths are captured in the Constitution. So who are we to say no to the Constitution? When the cream of society, are really factored in, how they will be, oriented, how they will be supported, how they will be educated, how they will be self-reliant. Honorable Speaker, coming to the culture, the customs are all factored in the Constitution, as well as 1997 Constitution. 1997 Constitution gives us the mandate to promote our culture, which is there to foster unity. And it's the same that has been replicated in. Honorable Speaker, talking about citizenship, one of the honorable member mentioned that if you have a family in abroad, they want to be a citizen, it's not catered. I want him to read properly. We have what we call citizenship by descent. If your grandparents originated from Gambia, you can claim citizenship. The procedure is very clear. There are a lot of steps that if you want to be a citizen of a country that you can be. You can be. It's there. By naturalization, by birth. So what do you want? Do we need more schooling on the Constitution? If we need more, let's request for that. Honorable Speaker, the specific rights, we have a lot of rights in the 1997 Constitution, but the new element that I have seen in is elderly people, and these people need to be supported. We all know that aging is obvious. It must come. Some of us, one day, the strength that we talk in this parliament will be out. So we need support. So if we don't cater the old ages, social protection in the Constitution, where will our society be? Honorable Speaker, coming to National Security Council is properly enshrined in the Constitution. And we are all witness to security reform that has failed in this country. It failed because there was no proper sense of direction. Now we have a Constitution that can guide us, that can save us, that can protect this nation. Honorable Speaker, we give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. We give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. The job done by our own uncles, our fathers, our brothers cannot go in vain. We have to celebrate them. It's difficult if we are given a topic to write 1,000 words or only 500 words, some of us will not be able to do it. You know how difficult to come with a thesis or a project. We all know. So let's celebrate our people. These are our pioneers. Honorable Speaker, coming to the numerous commissions that we have seen in Human Rights Commission, the Teachers Commission. For years, since independent teachers, we are suffering in this country. We don't talk of health workers. Time has come for them to be emancipated and to be in charge of their own problems. Let's give them the opportunity. Let's give them trial. There is nothing impossible. Yes, we might have financial constraints, but the only difficult thing that I can think of now, if you want to change Suleiman Sao to a woman, maybe that will be difficult. But even with scientists, if you give them the opportunity, they can make trial. So let us not have this mind that we can't. Yes, we can. We can. The university has been here for so long. We have to thank the former government for that initiation. How many young graduates do we have now? So why are we taking us backward? We need to move. Honorable Speaker, principle of executive authority, 85, is there. So when I hear members, executive don't have the authority, they have more authority than you do. We must promote scrutiny, and that's why National Assembly should be empowered to play that oversight function, to ensure that scrutiny is done, so that we have the right people in the right position. If you are sure of yourself, why should you scared to come before the parliament for scrutiny? If your credentials are okay, if your background is okay, your history is good, why should we be scared of that? Honorable Speaker, having parliamentary election and presidential election on the same day, this is not new in the history of the Gambia. By then we were young, but we could remember fully. It was happening. I remember the people of Central Badibu, some will vote for Dr. Sao when it comes to parliamentary, presidential, it's SM Diba. I could remember it. It was happening. And, you know, there are a lot of good things attached to it. The advantage supersedes the disadvantage. Why not we go for it? And within the sub-region, this is what is happening. So it's not something new. And this will make the incumbent not to use his influence on the electorate as well. Because everybody now will be busy fighting your own battle. If the president is looking for State House, you are looking for National Assembly member, fankum fankum. Yes. Honorable Speaker, 50 plus 1. The government that we have today is not a majority. It's not a majority government in terms of representation. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the percentage, what APRC got, GDC, you add up all, and the percentage that the coalition government got, you can see the majority is not represented. So we want to make sure that we have majority representation. Minority cannot rule over minority. That's not democratic. It's not democratic. We have reached to a point that we must tell the truth, we must accept what happened in the past and forge ahead. Once we are not ready for that, then we are not ready for development. And the laws that we are making, we are not making for ourselves. It's the generation unborn. Honorable members, I'm making this special appeal to you. Let's give the bill a chance to move to the other stage. We have our concerns. No constitution is 100% good on earth, but you must give chance. And I want to enlighten one of the honorable members that nomination now is out of this new constitution. That's why I still said we don't read. Nomination is out of it. So I didn't believe we have time to read more. It's going to minimize the interventions that we make. And Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, with your permission, I would like to quote George Washington, the former president of the United States of America. I wish the Constitution which is offered had been made more perfect, but I sincerely believe it is the best that could be obtained at this time. From a variety of concurring accounts, it appears to me that the political concerns of this country are in a manner suspended by a thread. That the convention has been looked up to by the reflecting part of the community with a solid solicitude which is hardly to be conceived, and that if nothing had been agreed on by that body, anarchy would soon have ensued. I'm not saying that anarchy will come, but in Parliament, failing to give the citizen the right to decide how they will be governed is coup d'etat. It's coup d'etat. It's tantamount to coup d'etat. So let us not find ourselves in that situation. Let's do our work and give it to the other people to do what they're supposed to do. As I said, it's a process. Honorable Speaker, Benjamin Franklin also stated very clearly that I confess that there are several parts of this Constitution which I do not at present approve. Like the qualification. For me, a president cannot just graduate from high school and somebody graduate from high school become a president of a country. But if you want to come up with that, you create a lot of problem. Because some will see it as you are denying them their fundamental right. But in essence, it's good to have somebody who has a little bit educational background to be able to analyze both national and international issues. But no, if you talk about this, a warasak, harjaw. Honorable Speaker, I have experienced many instances of being obliged by better information or fuller consideration to change opinions even on important subjects which I once thought right but found to be otherwise. I agree to this Constitution with all its faults. For me, I agree. For when you assemble a number of men to have the advantage of their joint wisdom, you inevitably assemble with those men. All their prejudice, their passions, their errors of opinion, their local interests, and their selfish views, from such an assembly can a perfect production be expected. Thus I consent, sir, to this Constitution because I expect no better, and because I am not sure that it is not the best. The opinions I have heard of its errors, I sacrifice to the public good. Within these walls, they were born, and here they shall die. If every one of us, in returning to our constituent, were to report the objection he has had to it, and endeavor to gain partisans in support of them, we might prevent its being generally received, and thereby lose all the salutary effects and great advantages resulting from our real or apparent unanimity. On the whole, sir, I cannot help expressing a wish that every member of the convention who may still have objections to it would with me on this occasion doubt a little of his own infallibility, and to make manifest our unanimity, put his name to this instrument. Honorable members, honorable Speaker, long live Gambia. Long live the wish and aspiration of Gambian people. Long live the Parliament. I thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Honorable nominated member, Jaite.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very important and historic moment in the affairs of this nation. I would first start by thanking the CRC, the drafters of this Constitution, the new draft bill before us. These are people I have great respect for. Two of the members of this commission actually taught me and imparted knowledge in me. One of them trained me to be the lawyer I have become. And when I was illegally removed from this assembly, I went right back to the office. He gave me back my job and told me, you are only here temporarily. And that was what happened. So I thank them very much for serving their nation. This is indeed great service to nation, for dedicating their time, because all of them are very busy people. They made the sacrifice to dedicate their time to draft a new architecture for our governance. I thank you all very much. Then I come to why we as a nation, particularly the National Assembly, decided that we are going to give the CRC the power to draft this new constitution for us, and remind ourselves why we are here today discussing this issue. Because this has a lot to do with our history and where we came from. And this reminds me, today I see the Attorney General before me, and I remember when I was nominated as a National Assembly member, then I applied for the Chevening Scholarship and went through all the stages and was shortlisted. I approached him in person. This was at the University of the Gambia. I know he wouldn't remember. And I asked his opinion. I said, what do you think? Should I withdraw or should I continue? Because I really want to serve. He said, it's best you withdraw at this point to give someone else a chance. And I went home and sat down and think really hard about this. Do I go to UK to continue my studies, or do I serve my country? And I wrote, I have this on my iPad. I wrote this in May, 12 May to be exact, 2017. I said, Dear Chevening, I'm withdrawing my application for scholarship because I was nominated to serve as a member of the National Assembly by the President of the Gambia. This opportunity to serve my country in such a capacity at such an important time in our country's history is an honorable task, a task which needs my undivided attention at the moment. And I went forward and said, as a transition government, the National Assembly is the most important player towards achieving an effective transition. As a legal mind, my presence and participation in the National Assembly, particularly in creating a democratic legal framework for the Gambia, is indispensable. This is how I felt really at the moment, that this is quite an honorable task. And I said I would like to take this opportunity to thank Chevening and the British government for such a wonderful opportunity. I enjoyed every part of this process, and I will apply in the next few years. Because in my mind, we are going to take few years to transition, because the decision was we are a transition government of 3 years. We are going to transition within these 3 years, and after we set the democratic legal framework of this country, then I would be free and go my way to continue my studies. This is my intention. And today I am here grateful that I am part of this process, because this is the most important process in our democratic history. And we need to always remember that. What are the principles of this new draft? We came from a 22-year dictatorship. We wanted a new governance system. We are trying to change the 1997 Constitution because we feel one of the main principles of this why we changed the 1997 Constitution is that too much power going through this Constitution is vested in the executive. And we wanted a balance of powers, separations, checks and balances. We said we had to change. Another principle is that given what we've gone through the 22 years, the various amendments that affected really our democracy, because one of them is the power that was given to the president to dissolve the assembly at any time. Who would think that is democratic? This is an excessive power given to the president. He can, with this constitution, he can dissolve, call for elections at any time. On this basis, giving the so many amendments, there is a stigma attached to this 1997 Constitution. We are not saying it's a totally bad Constitution, but there's a mark of shame attached to this 1997 Constitution because of the various amendments it has gone through, unfair amendments, I would say. So we decided as a country, Gambia decided, let us all remember 2016, that we were going to usher a new democratic dispensation. That to continue to mold this newfound democracy, we were going to change our constitution, issue a new constitution and start a third republic to set a proper governance structure of our country. And this is what the draft constitution has done. They have gone through extensive consultations and came back and gave us the draft, and it is up to us, Parliament, to pass this through to the voters, to the general public to have their say. This is what we should do. There are so many debates going on, whether we have the power to touch this draft. I don't even want to go, because to me that's a kind of basis argument, because it's very clear. What would happen if we do not have the power? Then we are the lawmakers. We are the supreme authority when it comes to legislation. Of course we have the power to touch this draft. But why, under what circumstances did we need to touch this draft? We delegated our responsibility and told the commissioners, CRC, draft the constitution. There is nothing wrong for us to touch the draft where it is necessary. For example, I'll give you one example that I raised the concern with the CRC, the issue of the speaker in this new draft. How does the speaker come into being? It's just say the speaker should be elected ex officio member without a vote. But the process of how this ex officio member would come into being is not said. This is some place where we can touch it. To me, I feel touching this draft, whatever we do is to add to it, not to subtract it. And I would say right now, register my support for the new draft. I'm wholeheartedly supporting this, apart from a little things that we can fine-tune during consideration stage. Thus, I am begging us members of this House to give a chance to this draft, to give a chance to the people of the Gambia to have their say on how they want to be governed. Because if we end this here, right now, that would mean as a country, we haven't transitioned. We are not going to have a third republic. We are not going to transition, and this whole idea of a transition government would be baseless, really, because I don't see what would we achieve during this 5 years transition if we do not have a new constitution setting the framework and the architect of the new governance we want as a country, particularly the young people. There are so many things in this draft that are worth celebrating. For example, the affirmative action for women to increase our representation. How many of us are here now? It's only 6 of us women in this, but this draft is saying if I come into being, every region would have 2 women representatives elected in parliament. That is worth celebrating as a woman. That's the affirmative action we need to take moving forward as a country. Another principle of the draft, I think these things should be, some parts of this draft should be called the Kumba sections. You go to section 143 of this draft, very interesting, and it had a lot to do with the history of this parliament and the case. It says wherever there is a dispute on whether a seat is vacant or not in this assembly, the Supreme Court has to decide within 3 months. If you hear this, what comes to your mind? The Yakumba Jaita case. The draft constitution touches a lot on our history and what we've been through, and that is why we have certain provisions included. You go to local governance, what has it done? The draft has removed governors from it to make sure that local government can do what they want to do, and elected local government representatives can do what they want to do in their different regions. So there are a lot of things to celebrate in this draft, and a lot of consideration has gone into this. And as members of the National Assembly, I would really encourage us to look into this properly and vote this draft at this stage to give the Gambian people a chance to have their say. Another thing I really want to touch on is the issue of leadership and integrity, the principle of leadership and integrity. When it comes to the draft, it has limited the term of the presidency to 2 terms. And I know this is the most controversial issue, but we can't shy away from it. We have to discuss this issue because it is very important. And the main issue why it is controversial is the draft has gone further under the schedule to say that the term of the current president is included in his 2 terms. And supporters of the president seem to have an issue with this, but this is very funny to me. This is a president that came into being as a transitional president for 3 years. He is now serving 5 years, and he is the president that initiated the draft constitution. He is now serving his 5-year term. He is the president looking to limit the terms of the future presidents to 2 years. But he doesn't want to limit his own term to 2 years. And they say it is discriminatory to him. Is it not discriminatory to someone or the future presidents? There are a lot of things if you say that the Constitution is discriminatory to one person or to the, I could say the Constitution is discriminatory to me, the new draft or the old Constitution. Because this Constitution will not allow me to contest presidential elections come next election because I don't have the age. I could say that is discriminatory. But this issue about the retroactive clause, a constitution, they are saying a law cannot be retroactive, but the constitution is the supreme law of the land. If it says this is the law, that is the law. There is no issue about retroactive. It is saying this is the law, I am the one deciding this would happen. This is the supreme legislation, and it is repealing the order, so it doesn't matter what is said here. Now, if we pass this, this is going to be the law. So that argument of retroactivity, I think is baseless, because if one is preaching something, you are to be the first one to practice it. If this is the president that initiated this new constitution and wants to limit the terms of future presidents to 2 years, he should be the first one to set an example in the entire nation and for the entire Africa, because this is the debate going on in Africa. And I think it's very important, and it would be one of his greatest legacies if he starts this in Africa and sets an example. So I would encourage them. And I would also encourage him to end this issue and give this constitution a chance by just making a statement saying, I am supporting my own constitution that I initiated, and the debate will end. This is for the principle of leadership and integrity. Now it comes to the powers given to the National Assembly. Just because in the 1997 Constitution, like I said before, so much power is vested in the executive. Now the principle of this to have checks and balances, we are giving the power as National Assembly members to vet the appointments of ministers. And I think this is a welcome idea. This is the practice in more mature democracies, and I think it's very important. If you don't have anything to fear, you will not run away from scrutiny. I think this is why people should have a say. As we are representatives of the people, we should have a say on the people who govern. I welcome that. Other members have raised the issues of the judiciary and their remunerations and their benefits and how they were a bit biased in the draft. That also, I would like to remind people of the history of this country and the judiciary. There's a reason why I don't want to be seen as supporting it, but I see the rationale behind those provisions. Our judiciary, during the Jammeh period, we have seen how the executive had a hand in the judiciary. And it is very important to guarantee the independence of members of the judiciary so that no other forces outside can influence their decisions, because they are the last point of hope. When the executive and the National Assembly are pulling hands, example, in my case, the judiciary was the hope of the people, and we see how people registered their hope in the judiciary during that case, and how people were happy with the decision, that the judiciary is finally independent. This is the reason I believe they inserted this provision, to make sure that no one would have influence on members of the judiciary, and their independence will be guaranteed during their time of service. So these are things that we can discuss if we give this bill a chance to go to the next stage and reach a compromise on these issues. So I would really stop this here, and really my last word would be to encourage the members. I don't know if I should beg you or what I should do, but really I'm pleading with you. And this is very personal to me, and I know to a lot of Gambians are looking forward to this, and we are on the good side of history. And I don't want us as legislators to leave a very ugly history giving this transitional government. And I really want those of you who have decided or are saying, want to say no to this, to give it a chance. I am begging you to take this, for us to take this to referendum and give the Gambian people a chance to decide on the governance structure of their country. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable member for Upper Fuladu West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. After listening to the last two interventions, I don't think there's much detail I can go into some of the points they've raised. But I just want to concentrate on why we are here today. And hopefully at the end of my intervention, I'll be able to prevail or implore on some of my colleagues who might equally have a different stance to me to see the bigger picture. Madam Speaker, the building of the Constitution process is no ordinary lawmaking process, because unlike the conventional laws, the National Assembly doesn't enjoy, or we don't enjoy, an unfettered power and authority to pass the Constitution. Because the Constitution, as the supreme law of the land, and its contents originates from the sovereign people and is adjudged or settled by them. And as the collective voices of the people, our job today is informed by Section 101, Section 102, D and E, and Section 226, subsection 1 to 9 of the 1997 Constitution, which provides for us processes and the steps that we need to take as a matter of law. In principle, and in considering their context as a people, as a sovereign people, the Gambians looked at their past experiences, present experiences, and future aspirations, and as a sovereign, who are only answerable to God, the Almighty, freely and fairly express their views and visions within a greater context and by the greater number, as soberly captured by the CRC. And going through the preamble of the Constitution, you will notice that the people have time and time again emphasized that they are the dignified and they are the original bearers of all powers in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And with their power, they gave significance and legitimacy to the framework of institutions that form the government and determine on who exercises the power and authority of the state, how we do it, in what proportions, and for what purposes. They again emphasize that as they are answerable not only to God, we are answerable to them, or their elected representatives who act on their behalf. And that's why, Madam Speaker, with and on behalf of their authority, we develop and execute policies and enact laws to maintain that sovereign dignity against any unlawful act or action of an individual, group, or even a foreign nation. And in that same vein, we were able to use their power to establish the CRC the Constitutional Review Commission in an act in 2018, giving it the mandate and powers to conduct and exercise on behalf of the people as our electorates. And the CRC, dictated by this mandate, the Constitution of the Gambia and other laws of the Gambia, did a fine job. These are a collection of Gambia's finest men and women of impeccable character, integrity, commitment, determination, and unquestionable wealth of knowledge and track record in this field. Madam Speaker, the CRC preserved the spirit and the belief that in order to meet the objectives and the goal that they are set out to do by building a constitution that reflects the views and aspirations of the people, they have to first do it through a nationwide and even beyond consultation, because they believe that the outcome of a constitution building is only legitimate when it is broadly accepted and nationally owned. Madam Speaker, they understand that in order to do this, they have to use that determination that they have to go across ozones, all over the world, anywhere that they can get to reach every Gambian that they could and consult them on how they wish to be governed. They held seminars, workshops, conferences, meetings with every stakeholder in this country and outside the country to make sure that their views and aspirations are captured. They research law reports of the Gambia, Supreme Court rulings, and consulted on other constitutions in and outside the Gambia to make sure that they keep to the fundamentals of standards, norms, but also best practices. The draft constitution that is before us now, Madam Speaker, is, the contents of it now are captured in 20 chapters and four other schedules, which was presented to the President on the 30th of March, 2020, and published accordingly. Their goal was not to produce a constitution that is one size fits all. They understand that is not achievable. But what they did is to reflect the greater aspirations and views of the Gambian people. And Madam Speaker, I don't think we are here today to try to reinvent that will. The draft constitution, we will all agree that is far better than the current one that we are using right now, in terms of the progressive nature of promoting and protecting rights, especially fundamental rights and freedoms, our national values, administration of the state, leadership and representation, amongst others, while ushering a new era of hope, peace, unity, national cohesion and reconciliation, democracy, justice, respect for the rule of law, transparency, and accountability, leaving behind rights abuses, social divisions, corruption, injustice of all forms, and impunity. So since this bill, which is the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia 2020 promulgation bill, no, it's no ordinary bill. Like I said, no, section 102D and E plus section 226 applies. And that should be the center of our focus. Madam Speaker, with your permission, I would like to refer this House to these sections. Madam Speaker, if you look at section 101, the 1997 of the 1997 Constitution, it is telling us now how to introduce bills and motions into Parliament. Section 102 is also giving us now our additional duties or functions as the National Assembly. And D would tell you that our functions include, in a bill, a proposal now for a referendum on an issue of national concern defined in the bill, but also advise the President on any matter which lies now within his or her responsibility. Section 226, Madam Speaker, will further go on to elaborate on our functions today. And it would clearly state, if you allow me, section 1 would tell us that subject to the provisions of this section, an act of the National Assembly may alter this Constitution. Subject to subsection 4, a bill for an act of the National Assembly under this section shall not be passed by the National Assembly or presented to the President for assent unless before the first reading of the bill in the National Assembly, the bill is population of at least two issues of the Gazette, and the latest publication being not less than 3 months after the vote. And the bill is not introduced into the National Assembly not earlier than 10 days after the latest publication. I can go on, Madam Speaker, but you will understand that so far the bill has fulfilled all these requirements. But the point I want to raise here now is in section 4, section 226, subsection 4, where it says that a bill for an act of the National Assembly altering any provisions referred to section 7, which is mainly dealing with unchanged clauses, shall not be passed by the National Assembly or presented to the President unless, for assent, unless the bill is published and introduced in the manner required by paragraph A of subsection 2. So basically, any alteration that we do here, either at the consideration stage, it means this thing, the whole process has to start all over again. And considering the time frame of the proposed timetable now from the IEC, is that what we want to do? Because the 2021 elections is fast approaching. And that is also saying that the bill is supported on the second and third reading, as stated earlier. But what I want the Minister to help me here is it's also asking this same bill after any alteration, amendments or additions or whatever repealing, that the bill has to be referred by the Speaker to the Independent Electoral Commission, and the Commission has, within 6 months of such reference, held a referendum on the bill. So it means, if I understand, I'm not a legal person, that any alteration that we do to this draft, it means it has to go back for the consultation with the people. Because we have changed what the CRC has now viewed as their views and aspirations. So, yes, we have powers to do those alterations. There's no question about that. But what we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to actually go back and restart all this process again, not knowing what might come out to be the outcome of it.
Bear in mind the stage at which we are right now.
I
We are
understand.
at the second stage, dealing with the
I
principles.
understand.
Yeah.
So, as we are debating, Madam Speaker, the question here is, many members have raised concerns, and I have concerns too, with this draft constitution. But should we want to reflect those concerns in this draft constitution or at the consideration or at any point, what are we doing? Are we not frustrating the process itself? Like I said, I have clauses that I have concerns with. And some of the members raised some points here that are equally the same, like the retirement package of judges, the speaker's election without vote, immunity of NAMs, elections of SAFOs, citizenship, qualification of a president. Because, Madam Speaker, there is a philosopher, and I will quote Joseph de Maistre, who said that people get the leaders they want, that they deserve. Right or wrong, Madam Speaker, we have set a very high bar for ministers, directors, ombudsman, commissioners of commissions, but yet we don't mind if our president is as unqualified as, or just qualified as a secondary school level. So we have to, I have concerns too, but I don't think these concerns warrants to frustrate this process reaching the Gambian people. I have also had concerns from some members who went as far as raising the point that the CRC have basically stole some other people's work, like plagiarization, that what they did is basically wrong. Madam Speaker, now looking at this report, especially the last 2 pages, would show you time and time again all the references that the TCRC has mentioned of where they are taking their sources from, both within the Gambia and outside the Gambia, be it Malawi, Togo, Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Kenya, wherever. They have given us references. And besides, who can claim monopoly over what is right? Nobody. What is right is right. If it reflects our national values, if it reflects our self-determination, if it reflects our form of governance that we want to create, there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that is a little bit too low under the belt. So, Madam Speaker, just to wrap up, we also have to consider this. Coming into government, this administration had made so many grand plans and promises, some of which security sector reform processes that was planned, a national reconciliation which, through the TRRC, certain financial and institutional reforms like the Janneh commissions and all that. So the efforts of the CRC, in my view, would only add to some of the failures that we have registered on those areas. And I don't think we want to actually be able to do that. So therefore, I implore on each and every member of this legislature that we are the conscience of the nation. We are the voices of the people. And for me personally, I am really humbled and honored to play a part, more part than I can even ever have asked for. And the least we should do is to overlook any differences of positions or issues we have with our constitution, and together deliver this to the people, for them to decide. It is their fate. If because we think this is not the best law for the Gambian people, let them be the decider of that. But at least we will have chance to come back and change what we think should change in conventional type lawmaking. And Madam Speaker, I want to remind myself and everybody in and outside these chambers, particularly the media, the CSOs, the civil society organizations, rights activists, political parties, pressure groups, better for women, youths, disabled people, and other minorities. And of course, ourselves as NAMs, being the representative of the people, that constitutions alone do not guarantee peace. They do not guarantee our political, social, and economic welfares and advancement. We have to be vigilant. We all have to play our part and ask for every position that is agreed in this draft constitution. Because without which, it can be a futile exercise. On that note, Madam Speaker, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, we're coming to the tail end of the debate. I have few honorable members on my list, so I just want to ensure that final call, can I take those who want to still take the floor? You see, we need to do that for management of time purposes. Normally, you see, where are my aides? They're not around. Okay, let me take the, Loa knew me, I thought I gave you the floor. Yes, oh yes, I remember vividly. Serekunda, yes, Serekunda West. Yeah, you did. I'll check my list, but I know you did. You congratulated somebody for, I remember very well. Yes, Lower Fuladu. Jara West, yes. You see? Kusumbala. No, you will be next. Kusumbala, Lower Badibu. Any more on this side for Ibondali? No. Okay, Talindi.
Madam, I had mine.
Yes, okay. That's Bakau.
Yes, but I prefer to withdraw because enough is hard. I said I wanted to withdraw because I have had enough about the contribution, so I'll reserve mine up till committee stage. Is that okay? I want to withdraw. Yes.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the list. I want to draw the curtains there. Am I safe in doing that? Jokadu? Okay. I'll call on the honorable member for Woolly East.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to also contribute to this very important debate regarding the future supreme law of this country. Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank the ministry, the CRC, and this National Assembly for getting us to this stage. I want to thank the CRC for fulfilling their mandate to review and deliver this draft to the country successfully. Honorable Speaker, we all know the challenges that awaited the CRC at the early phase leading to their undertaking to review this draft. I believe that we have given them sufficient mandate to carry out their work, which they have done very, very well. So our consideration, Honorable Speaker, should be to find out from the work that was done by them whether it is satisfactorily done. For example, whether the people have taken ownership of the process, whether the people have fully participated in the process, whether the human rights framework has been the cornerstone of the review process. These are some of the issues that we must look at in our process to review it or to scrutinize it. Also, Honorable Speaker, like I said, the CRC Act, the functions that we have here, whether they've actually followed those functions to be able to give us this draft. I can read them. Functions of the Commission. A, to seek opinion and take into account such proposals as it considers appropriate. To review the 1997 Constitution, adhere to national values and ethos, safeguard and promote the following matters. 1, the existence of the Gambia as a sovereign independent state, the Gambia's republican system of governance, including its democratic values, and respect for and promotion of the rule of law and fundamental rights and freedoms, the separation of powers, national unity, cohesion, and peace, the importance of ensuring periodic democratic elections based on universal adult suffrage, including the introduction of term limits for serving in the office of president, and the Gambia's continued existence as a secular state in which all faiths are treated equally and encouraged to foster national cohesion and unity. Honorable Speaker, these are the main functions that have been identified for the CRC to use during the review process. Then I will also add some criteria which I believe is important to see whether they have captured that as well. Whether the review process has been monopolized by political elites. Is it only political elites that contributed to this? Or by any sector of society? Has it been dominated by any sector of society? That's a very important question. Whether any external organization or even a patronizing state had tried to dominate the process. Whether the CRC has looked at our local realities, sensitivities, our tradition, and other needs, whether those are properly taken care of. Those are some of the important issues that we need to look at. So in my view, as a stakeholder, I have met the CRC, I believe it's more than 5 occasions, and exchanged issues with them. And I know they have also gone to my constituency, and the people have their say. But we must be careful. Sometimes what the people would tell the CRC should not be in the Constitution. If the people say, for example, the wealthy people say, the second capital of the Gambia must be Sutukondi, should the CRC put that? And when I come here and say, well, my people said, you know, Sutukondi should be the capital, but I did not see that in the distance, so I'm not going to support it. That would be very parochial on my part. We should look at the major principles to see whether they are captured. We will never have a constitution that we will not come here to amend. Depending on the circumstances, we will always come and amend something. It will never be perfect. We have been told over and over, that we will never have a perfect constitution. There is no constitution in the world which is not being amended, depending on their time. Honorable Speaker, the other question is whether institutional safeguards are in the draft constitution. I believe that the judiciary, if you read it, is independent to the extent that it is the ultimate tool to protect our rights individually and collectively. That has been captured based on my reading and understanding. The executive, the judiciary, the legislature are being confined to their mandate under this draft constitution, so that there is no unchecked or arbitrary power or action to be done by the state. That has been fully captured by the draft. Honorable Speaker, also, do we reasonably equip the 3 arms of state with competence, real competence, to ensure that they carry out their mandate, to ensure that they are autonomous and prevent the concentration of power in one side? I believe the draft constitution I have read has actually done justice to that. So, as far as I'm concerned, Honorable Speaker, the CRC has done justice to their function. They have captured one major thing, or few major things that we have said, that is the term limit is captured, separation of powers is adequately captured, local realities and sensitivities are also taken care of, and there is no undue interference from any external power to dominate the process of review. I've not got any evidence. In fact, the evidence I got is that the CRC has refused even donation from external sources during the time of review, even though they have been offered. I got that evidence. So, Honorable Speaker, the other main issue that was debated here is the transitional and consequential provisions. Transitional and consequential provisions, Honorable Speaker, is in every constitution. We are transiting from one order to the other. And for us, the most important thing is that we want to review our constitution so that we can transform the political and social order. I think that's the main reason why we want to carry out this review. We want to transform from the Second Republic to the Third Republic. And through that transiting, we will be affected, all of us, one way or the other, will be affected. No one will go scot-free. Everyone will be affected in one way or the other. Because we are coming from a new law, which we are used to, and going to something new. Honorable Speaker, the National Assembly is affected. Our term of tenure of office is limited by this draft. Even if it is going to be 3 months, but it's going to be limited, 3 or 4 months. But we are not killing ourselves because of that. Because we know the work we are doing is more important than our personal endeavors. Honorable Speaker, I am being bombarded here that the incumbent is losing a right that he has acquired. I've not seen that in the draft. What I have seen is that everybody has to make some sacrifice in order for us to attain what we intend to attain. Many honorable members have said that here, that to set an example, you will have to make some sacrifices. What is here, that is, he was asked to step down. If he was asked to step down, immediately this draft constitution comes into effect before his term expires. Then we can say that is an acquired right that he is missing, he is losing. But he is asked to continue. The president that is here before this draft comes into being will be the president that will become the president of the Third Republic. So his term, he has won an election and he's given 5 years, and that 5 years will be expired. He will do it. He'll carry on. He's not deprived of that. That's the acquired one. The other ones, we are not yet there. Whether he's even going to win an election, nobody knows. Before you even deprive him, he has not even attained it. So nobody has deprived him of that right. But we all want to limit our presidents to 2 terms. 2 terms. And this constitution ensured that the incumbent has these 2 terms. If he says you are going to be limited at this first term, then we can say, well, we said 2 terms, why are we giving him only 1 term? But we know that we have leaders like Mandela. To give a very good example, they decided to go for only 1 term of 4 years, to set an example. So we are asking him to have 2 terms. What you want the others to have it, but don't go beyond that. That's what the draft constitution is saying. Also, I don't know how we can come here and fight for the independent, the right of the president when we know that his representative is here. I believe the representative of the president will tell us whether the president is opposed to this. I have not heard any pronouncement from the incumbent that he is opposed to what is in the draft. Somebody said the CRC should ask him whether he wants this or not. If the CRC should come to ask me whether, I want to be deprived of my 3 months, term of office. If they want to ask everybody whether you want this or you don't want this, then we will not have a constitution. The CRC cannot go to everybody and all those who are affected to ask whether you want to be affected by this or to be affected by this. They are looking at national interests and the aspirations and wishes of our people. Honorable Speaker, the issue of supremacy of the Constitution has also been an issue. And I'm very surprised that colleagues are questioning whether or not the Constitution should become the supreme law of our land. That it is copied from Kenya, and that its legality and validity should not be challenged by or before any court. That should not be the case. Honorable Speaker, my interpretation is that we have many laws in the country, including religious laws and private agreements, and so on and so forth. But we are looking for a law, a supreme law, that all other laws will be consistent with. And that's why we go into a referendum, so that the majority of Gambian people will vote and decide that that becomes the case. So you can go to any Bantaba and oppose the legality and validity of the Constitution, but you cannot do it before the court. You cannot go to court and say this Constitution is not a Constitution. This Constitution is not important. You cannot say that in court. That's what it is saying. Do it anywhere else, but don't do it at court. The court will not allow you to do that. You cannot question that in court. Honorable Speaker, how many republics? We are talking about a republic, not a monarchy. In a republic, the Constitution must be the supreme law of the land. If you go to the US, it says, which many people quote, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any law that conflicts with it has no force. That's in the US Constitution. Any law that conflicts with the Constitution has no force. In this Constitution, 1997 Constitution, it says, the Constitution is the supreme law of the Gambia, and any law found to be inconsistent with any provision of this Constitution shall, to the extent of inconsistency, be void. That's this one. Our own. Before we talk about Kenya, this one is what it says. So in Nigeria, Ghana, Uganda, other republics, even in Lilliput, when it's a republic, the Constitution will be the supreme law of the land. So that's the issue. Honorable Speaker, the draft has so many innovations. I've gone through this draft, so many innovations, innumerable ones, that has done justice to improve the governance of this country. And these are fair provisions which can only take us further and not backward. The objective is to review the transformation of the political and social order of our society, and I believe that is adequately captured in the preamble of the draft. If we look at section 132 of the draft, we will see that is private prosecutions. That was not in this one. Private prosecutions. Many times police will be reluctant to take certain cases to court, or to take certain individuals to court, or to prosecute certain people, because they call them big men or big people. But maybe they have committed crime against individuals. Trample on the rights of other individuals. But this provision has come to say when somebody commits a crime, even if the police don't want to take action, the individuals can take action against the person to ensure that he or she is punished by law. Honorable Speaker, if you look at loans, we all complain about loans, grants, and government guarantees. Loans have always been controversial. Some of us, in fact, asked for some kind of study to ensure that we have some control over these loans, to ensure that we don't overburden our people, our people, future generation, with so much loan to the extent that they cannot even manage their destiny. So this draft constitution has come and put some stringent, extra stringent measures to help the National Assembly to ensure that that does not happen. That's a very important innovation. Honorable Speaker, when you come to the issue of Sefolu, for me, that is controversial. Sefolu and Alkalolu. With Sefolu, you have an election, which is okay, since we agreed to an election. But then they said for life, when you win an election. And in a republic, in a democracy, somebody who is elected should also have a term limit, so that people check again whether they want that person or not. Has it been serving them the way they want to serve them? And what are they going to be their functions? Even though that is left to us. They say we can come with a provision and give functions to chiefs. But I believe that needs to be put here so that we know when we are going to make them live, are they going to be ceremonial? Or are they going to continue to be magistrates? Because they are magistrates and they are administrators. They are doing all these two things in the districts. So for me, if we are going to make it election, then we have to give them a period. And when you come to the issue of Alkalolu, there has always been some argument as to who is the legitimate inheritor of the passing one. So it is important that we come with a provision that will help in addressing that. And I believe if there is commotion and people don't agree as to the traditional lines of inheritance, they don't agree, let them have an election, a simple election where all the members of that community, who have voting card can easily vote, and then they solve the problem, rather than trying to force somebody on them. I think that's something that we should look at. Honorable Speaker, affirmative action. This draft has given a lot of impetus to that. The other half of society, the female folk. If it were not nominations, we may end up having only 3 members of the National Assembly. Are they participating in the decision-making process of this country? Are they not citizens? Should we allow the other half to just be clapping, supporting us in elections? and not allow them to participate in the decision-making of their society. So affirmative action. We should not oppose affirmative action because it's helping others to join the development of our society. Environment, Honorable Speaker. This draft constitution has made the environment a fundamental human right, which is not in the 1997 constitution. It's not there. It's a very good innovation. Now, what I want to emphasize also, Honorable Speaker, is compromise. We all want something better. But this type of work cannot be done without compromise. If you have 319 provisions or clauses in the draft, and you happen to disagree with 5, don't kill yourself, compromise. Let's compromise. There is no need to commit suicide because of disagreement. If you ask me, I have many provisions or clauses here I do not agree. But if they pass, I will not kill myself. Because I know the fundamental principles and other important clauses that are there, the fundamental human rights clauses that are there, etc., 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 other innovations that are there have more importance, they are more positive importance to the society than the few clauses I may disagree with. And let's not tailor a constitution to serve an individual. Let's not focus on any individual. Let's focus on institutions. Let's focus on principles, ethics, and merits. Because the threshold is very high. The threshold is very high, 50% participation. Even if you agree here, after we agree, then you go and campaign, you are depriving us of the threshold. You are depriving the society of the threshold. And even to pass this stage, we need a lot of compromise. A lot of compromise. Fundamental rights, they are there. For me, my concern was fundamental rights. We should look at it to see that at least they have not given us fundamental rights with the right hand and on the left, because I see a lot of limitation on the fundamental rights. So we need to balance to see whether that is not the case. But as long as that is not the case, we should be fine with it. So on that note, Honorable Speaker, I thank again the CRC for a very good job, for their commitment to national duty. I thank the members for a very good debate. But let's allow this draft to pass this stage so that when we come to the next stage, we will have another debate among ourselves to see and help each other to understand a lot of these provisions, because some of us have discussed with all kinds of lawyers, home lawyers as well as backyard lawyers. Don't think that somebody who is a lawyer understands Constitution. Constitution also is a different field. So let's give ourselves time at our committee stages, because we have 16 weeks to really look at this draft. But if we become a little bit careless until we throw this into dustbin, then we are not doing justice to our people. On that note, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Thank you. Kantora is not here. Then Busumbala.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity also to add my voice on the very most important document of the Gambia. and also to thank the history that I'm partaking in the debate of the most important document of the Gambia, which history will tell. Madam Speaker, before going further or doing anything, I want to thank the government of the day for fulfilling and adhering to the promises of reforms that they want to do, which CRC and to review the Constitution is also part of their promises that they gave, and they have adhered to that. Madam Speaker, by extension, I also want to thank CRC for adhering to all the provisions given to them in the acts that establish them, to follow all the procedures and submit the draft constitution on time. Madam Speaker, the work is now the question. Before I go further, I want to clear myself, because that will dictate where would I be. When the draft constitution was published, so many people take it as theirs to give analysis about the draft, the function of the National Assembly, the right of the people in the country. I want the minister to answer this question, because that will depend on the way I am going to vote at the end of the debate. I know as a National Assembly member, because this is not my first time to go through debates on bills, that as a member I have a right to adjust and amend bills that have been brought to us here by ministers. So as been portrayed in the society, that the National Assembly doesn't have any right to touch, neither to put a comma or a full stop on this draft. If that what stands, then I fear that it will be very difficult for the draft constitution to pass this stage. But I'm with the conviction, because I am okay with my job, that yes, the National Assembly have the power and the mandate to amend some of the irregularities that we feel by compromising to have the best document to give to Gambian people to do referendum on. Madam Speaker, the draft constitution, when you compare, is a very good book in relation to the realities or to present generation's issues that are going. Because if you look at their references, they've done research, try to get best practices of others. But the question will be, do all those best practices are applicable in the situation, practical situation of the Gambia at this time? That is the question we need to ask ourselves from this good job. Madam Speaker, I want to put this to the whole general population, that no document is ever right in the front of the National Assembly, in the front of the National Assembly. So no matter what type of quality of people we have in the CRC, when they bring the document here, our job is to scrutinize. So going through the document doesn't mean that we are trying to devalue or underrate the good job that CRC does. I'm trying to do my job. To go through this draft constitution, to see what I feel, not only me, but put it to the members, that I think this needs to be adjusted. No, these things should not be there based on realities, by justifications. Members agree or disagree. But if it is going to be drawn at a conclusion that I will only talk, I cannot touch, I cannot change, it's going to be very difficult. Madam Speaker, if you look at it, after all the goodies of the book, there are issues, there are some provisions that I think I need clarity why those ones have been deducted from the 1997 Constitution, or Ghanaian or Kenyan, and brought to the draft for it to become a law in the Gambia. What is their justification, and what is the reality, reality implication that they have that it will work for the best interest of the people. That's how the issues I have. But if you look at it, you're looking at it, they've gone round. I have engagements with them in my constituency. If they look at the people that comes, the greater percentage are women and youth. So one aspect should have been in their mind, or I expect the draft constitution to talk something about the unemployment rate of the population. There has to be something that will force the government that it is not by will or if I want to do it or not, but it's incumbent as we used to say. It is the job of the government to provide jobs for the people, but our people are there without jobs. What is this draft constitution is working towards that? Madam Speaker, the salary scale of the people, poverty rate is too high in this country. I was expecting, and I want to put this thing to the question to the minister. What has this draft constitution talks about to alleviate the rate of poverty on Gambian people in the side of the salaries? Poor infrastructure. Gambia seems to be a dry sitting country. When rain comes, sorry to say this, everybody changes into frogs. We keep on jumping from one pothole to the other. It has been here since 1965. Constitutions have been changed, government have come. I think this time the reality of the draft should focus and make sure that the government should prioritize those things because we need to stop them. Those are the issues that I believe they should be there. Madam Speaker, I believe this draft constitution should have been a game changer. Game changer, what do I mean? The political game changer. The political climate of this country is too cloudy. If I can tell you, yesterday I was woken up by insults. Insults from people that they said it is the right to insult me. All over the world, within the country. If that is going to be the trend in our political atmosphere, where are we heading to? I expect the draft constitution to talk about that, to put a limit to that. If leaders are appointed, leaders are elected, they should be safeguarded. They should be respected. If I come here, I represent number of electors in my constituency is 36 that are on the book. But those that are coming in 2021 maybe 50. If only you, who is going to tell me, vote this way, and I want to explain to you, you said, no, I am not listening to your concern, you raise insult on me. Do you think you want me to do the job for you? It will be very difficult. And I, as a National Assembly member representing my constituency, am I not a Gambian? Didn't I also have an opinion? We have consents. That's why we say we vote on consents. We take consultation from outside. You come and vote on your consent. Anything that anyone does or anything anybody says here, wallahi, if you ask, he says and does in the best interest of the people. How is it best will depend on the practical in the society. So nobody should be blamed, nobody should be insulted of what we are doing. Madam Speaker, I present myself to my constituency as an independent without no political, I don't believe in any political ideology. Because how it defines, and I see myself, this title of myself as independent, I present myself to my constituents as independent. I did random selection of all, unless those who want to even see me surviving. But I've made to approach people about their consent. What others told me, if I want to come and do that one here, not only insult will rain on me, but I believe bullets will come on me. But it's left to my conscience to see what might that constituents tell me about this draft that's the reality, or whether he understands. It's my job now to talk to him. And I talked to some people. So we'll say 1997 is their legacy, they don't want it to go. But if you say it's my legacy, I will explain to you that no, you are misunderstanding. 1997 is not yours. But how do they build that sense of personality in 1997 is the word, the title that politicians use. 1997 is a soldier constituency or constitution. 1997 is APRC constitution. 1997 is Yahya Jammeh's constitution. If you do, those that support Yahya Jammeh will take it as theirs. If you do, those that are soldiers will take it as theirs. And then national documents shouldn't be personalized. So if you get your nose on that, you want to take it as yours and you don't want it to go, I use my position and my experience to talk to you that it was wrong. From anybody that you take that. Madam Speaker, I expect the draft constitution to talk about our Islamic sect of the people. You see, in the constitution is the right of every Gambian, right to education. But it doesn't specify which type of education. We know that we have some people in the society that go in for informal education. We have some people in the society that goes for Arabic education. And we have some people that goes to English for formal education. But what future do we target for all these categories of people that desire to acquire knowledge in this aspect? Those that are going for the informal, does the government have, or the draft constitution is going to dictate the government to have something that those people will not see themselves as destitute, as burden on their society? The Arabic, those that struggle, go all over the world to acquire knowledge. When they come, what do they end? Being an imam or a preacher. Future is cloudy for them. From the consultation I did, those ones also have a concern that their issue is not being catered. Madam Speaker, religious rights. So many rights have been said, which I really concur to all of them. Because as a human being, you need to have your right. Religious rights have been mentioned, cultural independence and the like. Madam Speaker, but I expect a thorough and a clear explanation. When the first draft was out, there was a serious outcry in the public about secularism. We cannot just keep quiet because many of the people in the society are not comfortable still with what the draft constitution is telling us about secularism. So we expect those ones to be clear. So that those sectors of the society that have doubt in that could be clear from here, so that when we give them the draft for referendum, they can decide what way to vote. Madam Speaker, I want to raise this question, and a constituent called me, and I think it's a concern, that cultural rights have been given. Those female circumcision been now still illegal, or is open for people to do it. Madam Speaker, I want to say this. The only campaign promise I give to Gambians, which I could remember, was term limit. I will never work with anybody that want to empower leaders to inclinge into power. So the issue of term limit in the Constitution is highly supported, and I know everybody supports it, but based on principles. The principle needs to be explained. The principle needs to be explained. Talking on my concern. So the principle needs to be explained. You see, democracy is respect the right of minority, even if it is one. So if one person feels that your right is being infringed, that person deserves explanation. So I want to explain the process. Madam Speaker, when we want to call for democracy term limit, we want to avoid what? We want to uphold the high principle of democracy, and we want to avoid dictatorship. Madam Speaker, I am seeing political parties as semi-government in the making. So why would it be also, if it's going to be a law to have term limits in the draft constitution, Why won't we have it in the electoral law that political parties, no person should also contest more than twice in an election? If you lose, you give chance to others. To avoid what? One, to uphold democracy. Two, to avoid monopoly of a political party. Because it's very unfortunate here in Gambia. If you call for a political party, they think of one person. All mind goes to one person. All political parties I'm talking about. So to avoid that, to have political parties as institutions of democracy, why can't we have it also in the political laws that no person should contest twice in elections? If you win, you go. If you don't win, you give chance to others to come. This is a suggestion that is coming from me. I think it is in the best interest of democracy. Madam Speaker, somebody talks about dual citizenship. I think this is a problem we need to. We see how the country was. Anybody, I give reference to 2016. We give credit to diasporas. They contributed anyhow to make sure that we had changes. When changes come, condition aroused me or forced me to get a status in another country. Not disowning my country, but because of condition, we have all struggled to change. Now you are telling me that when it comes to post of National Assembly and presidency, you cannot because you are a holder of dual citizenship. Madam Speaker, I think we need to consider that issue of dual citizenship. Madam Speaker, I want to ask this question, please. I don't want to be interrupted. With all due respect, if it is not order.
Honorable, I see a tag. So I just want to make sure. Somebody raised the tag. What is it for?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Is related to the standing order, clause 11. So I don't know whether you're going to sit beyond 6 o'clock, or would you continue, or are you going to stop at 6 o'clock? The standing order, the time frame on the standing order is from 10 o'clock to 6 o'clock, and it's coming to 6 o'clock. What are you going to decide? Are you going to stop at 6 o'clock or are you going to sit beyond 6 o'clock?
I know that if we are to sit beyond 6 o'clock, we cannot sit beyond 6 unless there is a motion moved and agreed to by the Assembly. So what do we do? Can somebody move that we sit beyond 6 o'clock? No, where's the timekeeper? Timekeeper? Okay. You want to usurp his position? Busumbala, just a second. Let's take the motion.
I definitely want to abide by Section 11.
Is he moving the motion?
I move that we abide by Section 11.
No, are you moving a motion for us to sit beyond 6 o'clock?
No, to 6 o'clock.
No,
I move that
there cannot be a counter motion. You just vote against it and it's lost.
I move
it's
that
as simple as that.
I move that we adjourn at 6 o'clock.
No, but if you read that section,
we stop at 6.
Honorable, if you read the clause, what it says is subject to the authority of the ABC to determine. Read it, to determine the time for commencement.
Subject to the authority of the Assembly Business Committee.
Two of us cannot speak.
To determine the time for commencement of business in plenary, and to Standing Order 14.2, Order of Business, sitting of the Assembly shall commence at 10 a.m. and shall continue until 6 p.m. unless the Assembly is previously adjourned. So I move that we adjourn 6 o'clock.
Is there any need to move a motion for an adjournment? There is no need because the standing orders indicate that at 6 o'clock we adjourn. If we want to extend beyond 6 o'clock, then we move a motion to sit beyond 6. I don't think you are in order.
I have a motion.
Nyamina,
Yes.
let me
well,
take Nyamina, please.
Yes, Honorable
Nyamina
Speaker,
is sorry.
as indicated, I rise to move that we sit beyond 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion.
Sorry, it has been moved and seconded that the assembly sits beyond 6 o'clock. Those in favor, please say aye. Those not in favor, please say no.
No.
So the ayes have it. It cannot be disputed unless you want to vote by show of hands.
No,
But the voice was very clear as far as, yes, Woolly West, sorry.
My problem is, if we say we sit beyond 6, up to what time? Because I'm not prepared to sit here up to 12 o'clock. I'm not prepared to be here up to even 7 o'clock. So,
Specified. That should be in the body of the motion. We sit beyond 6 o'clock up to.
As the motion is decided, I think now it's decided to conclude the issue. That's the motion.
Honorable Woolly West, we still have about 7. Am I right? Yes, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In fact, 8 more interventions. And the assumption is that if a motion is carried for us to sit beyond 6, it means we sit beyond 6 to complete the business of the day. And that may take us to, I really cannot determine. I really cannot determine. No, please, Honorable, can we take it one by one? We cannot just be jumping like that. This is what I have been saying. If we want the floor, we can ask for it and it will be given so that we will arrive at some consensus. But we cannot be talking at the same time.
Madam Speaker.
My concern, Honorable, is that it has been moved and seconded and a vote has already been taken, which is carried. So it means that it's a decision of the Assembly. So I'm afraid we just have to proceed. Thank you. What is it? Busumbata.
Yes. This is the CRC. Oh, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Others had serving me here. Let me take it easy and then cut it short. But this is live. I have to talk. Madam Speaker, I want to help one of my colleagues who mentioned about youth participation in politics, the 10%. I really appreciate that. But I want to remind him that person he's talking about is not entrenched. So any political party can come and change it. Youth participation, Madam Speaker, I said CRC has gone round. When they went round, they met so many youths. Youths have now interest in politics. But what provision do they have to guarantee that youths are being captured by political leaders? Yes, it has been indicated in section 84G, 10% of youth participation in the National Assembly. But I want to inform this Assembly that all provisions on that 84 were entrenched or are entrenched except that G. So what signal are they telling the youth? That we only want you to come and support us, but we can betray you at any point. When we feel that there is a competent old man or old woman somewhere, we'll prefer for that one. So I am suggesting that G should be entrenched to give the assurance of the youth that every sessions of, how do you call it? Every legislation of the National Assembly, youth participation from every political party will be 10%. Madam Speaker, I have this concern and I want an explanation. I compare it in the 1997 Constitution. Pardoned prisoners, convicted prisoners. Nothing has been said whether they should contest in public offices, but it is in the draft, it has been clear there. The conviction stays, if I'm right, but you are free to, or you are not barred to contest in public offices. I want to ask this question. What prompted that? For that changing in the reality of the situations. Given it is a contradiction or in a comparison to another provision in the Constitution that says if you are sacked or dismissed from an entity, you are going to be banned for life. I tend to be corrected if I can go through the, it is captured there. So I am dismissed, the law banned me for life. Somebody is convicted, been jailed, pardoned, can contest. I want clarity and explanation in this. It's all for the best interest of the campaign people. Madam Speaker, term limit of presidents have been mentioned. I also want to suggest, wouldn't it be better to also have term limit for National Assembly members? There are so many competent youths outside. There are so many competent people who admire now to work in the National Assembly. Why can't we have a provision to give term limits to National Assembly members? If you serve for 2 years, you leave. Others come. You go and do other things in life. If there's possibility for you to pass the track at your second year. Madam Speaker, I have a question and I will never. If somebody says I will not kill myself for that, I don't think it is worth, but even if it worth that, to see that to have a law in the draft constitution that you feel it is infringing others' right. To kill suicide, if it works, you will do. Madam Speaker, why wouldn't there be any, I have no problem conducting presidential election and national election the same day. I have no problem with that. But no provision has been said of the transition of my tenure, our tenure here. If, for example, it's going to be done in 2021 as President pronounced, the corona will not deter the election in 2021. So if presidential election is going to be held in 2021, the National Assembly election is going to be done in 2021, where is our remaining term of office? We have been cut from our term. So I want an explanation and an explanation in that to give me assurance that that 4 or 3 months will be covered. Madam Speaker.
I think, Honorable Serekunda, I think there's an issue that we allow the mover of the motion to.
Honorable Speaker, I rise on the Standing Order 32. That is a right that if I wish to make clarification and he allows me, I will make clarification.
For the best interest of the people,
but I can,
you are allowed.
Yeah.
Did you refer to 32?
Yes.
No, I'm referring to the Honorable Serekunda.
Yes.
Are you referring to clause 32?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody's right.
Yes. It's just,
but if we have 2 people at the same time talking, I mean, I will not be able to get what is required or what is being requested. So we have to take it easy, one at a time. We make the request, and then if it is clarification, whatever the honorable member will allow or not, if it is point of order, then you will refer to the relevant clause.
It's
but
a clarification.
If 2 voices at the same time, it will be very difficult with the microphone because it echoes. That's the only thing, but I am not stopping anybody, no honorable member, from exercising his or her right. I want that to be absolutely clear. Thank you.
Yes, allow me, in terms of our tenure, you will see it in Schedule 4, Schedule 4, yes, of the draft, and it says the National Assembly, it's page 153. 153. He said the existing National Assembly shall, from the effective date, continue to be National Assembly of the Gambia for the purposes of this Constitution. And it goes to say on the 3, subsection 3, paragraph 3, there is 2, there is 3 also. The expanded membership of the National Assembly shall take effect, and the members thereof shall only be voted for at the next general election after the expiry of the term of the existing National Assembly.
Observation. Observation. No, observation, yeah. If you look at, thank you very much, Honorable Member. If you look at the same schedule on page 154, if you look at term and language of the National Assembly, number 8.1, notwithstanding section 140, relating to the term of the National Assembly, the term of the existing National Assembly shall A, come to an end at the same time as that of the existing President, and according to the existing National Assembly, shall stand dissolved on the day immediately before a general election of the members following dissolution, and B, be deemed to be a full term upon the dissolution. So even if it ends in December, that means you still have your full term, according to this, my understanding.
Madam Speaker, it's all right. It's understood. But let me tell you this. Madam Speaker, are we together? No, he has to listen to me. And all the other members that are talking, to also to listen to me. Madam Speaker,
let us just avoid replying to issues raised. We can clarify, because for issues raised to be responded to, I think is the prerogative of the mover. But of course, honorable members can seek for clarification. Thank you.
But I think it's also best practice in procedures to clarify issues. So I
refer to clarification.
Yes, clarification. I have no issues with that. But let me tell you, Madam Speaker, if you look at my draft, this side, there is nothing. And all what they are reading on that. So I have a blank paper here. Okay? So that means what I said, I'm on the right track because I'm not being informed by the draft constitution given to me. That's a printing error from them. Madam Speaker, I was talking about internal democracy in political parties. Because I'm seeing political parties as demi-governments in the making. Every political party wants to come up. So we need to extend our tentacles of democracy into political parties to see the activities how they're doing. I gave a little research from independents. Which political party did a change of leadership in terms of contesting? From my research, they told me it's only DOI that did. And I think that's a very good principle of democracy. Because in contesting, you sell two things. You sell the ideology of the political party, and you sell the individual as a figure. All political parties have a very good ideology to develop the country. But why are they not winning? Probably it depends on the individual. So to have that, why can they change? I want to applaud for us to have that internal democracy in political parties. Madam Speaker, I gave an example of a provision here, section 29.3, which says that consequences of contravention, if a person has been dismissed or otherwise, he shall, section 23, if I can refer, is banned for life. To me, that one is harsh. And again, it is in contradiction of allowing a convict to contest. Madam Speaker, age limit, I want to clear it here. I think age limit of presidency, you see, Gambia is a young generation. It has been indicated in section 27 that a retired, no, this is section 39, a retired civil servant cannot, who has been receiving pensions, cannot receive another thing. That's left to the draft. So that means to me, they are trying to get away with old ones to give chance to the young ones. So if we want to transform the civil service, why can't we also transform the highest office of the nation? Let there be age limit, upper age limit, because it says from 35. Let there be upper age limit for presidential candidate. Freedom of religion, page, section 49. I think I have to go to that one. Section 49, subsection 3. It says a person shall, so the person may not be denied access to any institution, employment, or facility, or the employment of any right because of the person's belief or religion. Madam Speaker, enjoyment. What are you trying to do? Enjoyment, okay. Madam Speaker, to me, that may, conditional may, shouldn't be there, it should be shall. Let the minister help me. But I think that one should be a condition that it should be compulsory. No person shall be denied access to any institution, employment, or facility, or the enjoyment of any right because of the person's belief or religion. Not to make it an if conditional, but let it be a force that no person shall be denied. To be mandatory. Madam Speaker, so many rights have been given. I accept those ones because I want nobody to take my right. But Madam Speaker, I believe if rights have been indicated, duties of citizens should also be indicated. Because I believe every citizen has a duty towards the government. But I tend to be corrected, or I tend to be directed to any person. I don't see any provision that talks about duties of citizens towards the country. So which I believe there should be a provision to outline the duties of citizens. Madam Speaker, impeachment of presidents. How would it be so easy to impeach a president than to dismiss a high court judge? Somebody mentioned it here. Less than one half of the whole National Assembly can impeach a president who has been elected by the whole country. To me, that one is too small for that. Look at this draft for it to come into force. We are asking about 75%, 3/3. More so an officer who is going to control the implementation of this one, just to be impeached with less than half of the National Assembly members. Honorable Minister, I want a consideration in that. Madam Speaker, retroactive law. I am guided by 1997 Constitution, which guide us to promulgate this Constitution. It is clear, I may need another explanation, but to my understanding, it bears National Assembly to pass a law that is retroactive. So why this draft is bringing that? So I want assistance on that. But I want the Honorable Minister to help me on that. Honorable, let's just speak it. The Honorable Minister can do that.
Point of order, Honorable Speaker. Yes, point of order.
Why is your authority, please?
But listen to me. Honorable Yes, Honorable Speaker, clause 67(1) of the point of order, yes. Clause 67(1) 67(1) of the standing orders. which states? Or do I have to wait you? Yes, exactly, Honorable Speaker. Clause 67(1) did indicate, Honorable Speaker, after the second reading of a bill, members will be given the opportunity to debate on the general merits and the principle of the bill. But it is like the Honorable Member is going into the substantive issues of the bill, which is not actually the case here. That might be dealt with when we get to the next level, that is the third reading. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable, can you just adapt to the, so that you can confine your interventions?
I believe that's a procedural.
Let me finish the
Okay,
sentence.
thank you.
Yes, thank you. This clause is very clear. At this stage, we are dealing with the general merits, the principles and merits of the bill. So if we can just confine our interventions to that. Thank you. I had, in fact, indicated that earlier on one or two occasions, but it appears as if sometimes we get derailed and we are carried by. Thank you. You can proceed.
Madam Speaker, I'm not carried. This is the way I planned, and then I think there was a procedural defect somewhere. Some do it, some. But no problem. It happens to be me that to be put through, I accept it. Madam Speaker, elections of, I could remember CRC, this was my contribution to them. It was also part of my contribution that speakers should be elected from outside. That was from me as a layman, suggestion to them. So if they feel like, yes, speakers should be elected from outside, the procedure should be indicated to me. Because I believe that's the mandate given to them. So to me, when I read section 145(2), the election of the speaker, there is a vacuum there. I need clarity in that. Section 135, oh, you say let me not go by section to section. Madam Speaker, okay. Recall of the MPs. In the same reference I gave to the president. If the president is elected by the whole country, and an MP is also elected by the whole constituency. And mark you, when you are elected, you come here, you took oath, you're representing the whole constituency across all political lines you have in your constituency. So to have 1/3 of your electorate to sign a petition to recall an MP, I think we need to safeguard. To also contest in these positions is not easy. You stake your personal integrity in this position. So don't only see me that I'm a servant of the people, so I could be slapped anyhow, front and back, as the case is now, insulting people. I know if you go to social media, they're insulting, but I made it very clear in the morning, my conscience is leading me here. So, Madam Speaker, I think that one needs to be adjusted. Chief Justice coming here for confirmation, Madam Speaker, I said, as it is now, the situation in the Parliament is too politicized. Even if you don't intend it that way, if you stand, people divine you and put in a political frame. So I believe our Justice Ministry, our judges should be non-political. Somebody gave a reference there, I don't know whether we understand. And that is what we are trying to portray. For us to confirm the appointment is no problem, but with the situation. And that leads me, what is this draft constitution is bringing to make sure that the National Assembly members are not being carried out by political sentiments. This is the reality that is happening here. I even gave an example to one interview that I conducted. I expect the National Assembly, the Office of the National Assembly, to be non-political in the constituency. How would that be? The government need to fund and furnish a non-political office for Office of the MP, where everybody in that constituency will have the right to come and put their suggestions and petitions to the MPs. But as it is now, MPs have political bureaus. Those that are saying, I have consulted, they didn't consult, they consult their political cohort. So to have it as you have across all political lines in your constituency consultation, I believe the draft constitution should bring that office of the MP in the constitution to be non-political, so that we can be able to represent across. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I was confused, so I need clarity here. They say the draft constitution cannot be challenged in the court. Somebody was trying to explain to me, but I still need more explanation. What is the reason to have that one as a provision in this draft constitution that all the provisions in this draft constitution cannot be challenged in the court? Okay, clarity, my friend. You are saying because you spoke about it. You spoke on it. Madam Speaker, yes, I talked about somebody, honorable member for Kiang, I don't know, Kiang Central, spoke about the autonomy. I told him you did a very good point because I was trying to get that one, autonomy of the National Assembly. You see, if we are not autonomous, we are not given all the powers to be able to do our functions and be safeguarded with a whip, so that if you want to do your work or use your seat based on political sentiments, this and this thing will happen to you. So for the National Assembly to be autonomous financially and everything is very good. So if it is captured in the National Assembly, the draft constitution, as I've been informed by my colleagues, it's something very good. Madam Speaker, the welfare of your National Assembly members. Some 3 years ago, I was involved in an accident with my colleague, which is very strange. 2 National Assembly members going to the same work from the same political party had an accident. It's confusing, but Madam Speaker, I believe at that time, we are the one driving our car. We are in a rush, calculating to a meeting, and unfortunately it happens. Madam Speaker,
Honorable, really, I think that that's a deviation. Please, I have my experience over the last couple of years is that it's been very difficult for us to be able to distinguish between details and general principles and merits of a bill during the second reading of a bill. So really, the fact of National Assembly members being involved in an accident really doesn't touch on the principles of this particular bill. So you have to look for a way of...
Madam Speaker, I think I'll be very low in the job that I'm doing for not to be able to connect what I'm trying to explain and the reality of what is happening here. If you allow me, I would have gone forward, you would understand why I'm bringing that one. If you said I shouldn't be part of it, Madam Speaker, to conclusion, the welfare of your MPs are at this rate. MPs are driving themselves, MPs are fueling themselves, MPs are maintaining themselves. What is the welfare of the MPs? It's not being captured here. That's what I was trying to say. Because as an MP going to work, why should you drive yourself when ministers and permanent secretaries have drivers? So this is why I was trying to say, if you say you don't understand why I was bringing that accident, maybe it was not. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, somebody talks about ministerial, or the draft constitution talks about ministerial appointment here. Madam Speaker, I differ, and strongly differ, with the situation that is happening in this National Assembly, and ministers are political appointees that are appointed to help the government or the president, who has been elected by the people to execute a function in the country, for those people, ministers to come here for confirmation. It is fine, based on the realities that there is known political interference in our activities. So, Madam Speaker, at this point in time, that's why I was saying, at this point in time, I don't expect that provision to be, and again, we used to say here, don't be a judge and a jury. If I can favor a minister to come so stop there. Madam Speaker, I want to talk about Seyfus. Somebody mentioned about Seyfus here. The draft says Seyfus will be elected, but it further says that Seyfus will not be involved in politics. I am doubtful here. Elections comes through politics. So if I am elected through politics, you want me to say, now, and when, during your politics, people will help you. Now, somebody also wants to do politics to have a position, you fold your hand. You say the law says that. Is the law fair in that situation? Madam Speaker, I want clarity in that. I want to say that provision, no. If Seyfus are going to be appointed, Seyfus, that's inevitable that they will be involved in politics. So if we want to continue and maintain that Seyfus to be elected, then let us have a provision that they will be partaking in elections, in politics. If we don't want that, then let's see another way of appointing and nominating as Seyfus. And also life expenses, no. And also life. For a CFO to be elected, somebody mentioned it here as a matter of democracy. I am elected, after 5 years I have to go back to my people. So how can I be elected to become a CFO and serve for life? Democratically, it is undermining something there. So Madam Speaker, I want the minister to consider that CFO's appointment is not clear, and also the alcalos. Alcalos, the appointment, I really accept that one. They should be on lineage of the founders of the community. But again, the remuneration of these CFOs and the alcalos is not being mentioned. And I have not seen any person which says an act of the National Assembly will decide. I start to be corrected. I thought if that is to happen, there has to be a provision that will say an act of the National Assembly will decide the remuneration of the CFOs and the alcalos. Madam Speaker, very critical point. Right to marry. Section 54. This one, you will allow me, Madam Speaker, let me talk about that, because I cannot talk what I want to say if I don't go to the right to marry. 54. Yeah, 54.
It's been done before. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I read, with your permission. Right to marry and found a family is ambiguous, and I don't understand. From my consultation, I have a conclusion, and I want to be clear. A man and a woman of full age. This is English language. Might be different from the language we speak in class or on the streets. But a technical language in court. You have article. Article A before a subject, or D or an. So if you have a man, and again, and a woman, I have this confusion there to be clear. Is it that you are giving that man is an entity where marriage can occur among themselves? Woman is also an entity where they can marry, or an across? To avoid the right of gay and lesbians in this country. To make it very clear. I want to be clear whether this constitution is not giving an ample limit or a limit to gay rights and lesbianism in this country. Madam Speaker, my last point will be on security. Security. Thank God, yes, that's not a problem. It's always like that. When you speak, people listen to you. When people are speaking, you feel bored. Leave the chambers. Madam Speaker, security, when I compare the 1997 Constitution and this one, I have a question. We all know that the past regime, security was one of the tools that we elect the former government used to intimidate and victimize people. So if we want to avoid what had happened not to happen, the right functions, definition of all the security offices of institutions should be well spelled out. It should be all spelled out in this constitution. I'm having so many answers from my back here. Is there or not there? My friend, I'm directly addressing the speaker and the minister to address. I believe, when I went there, is the military and the police, which is not even captured well. If you compare the function of the military from 1997 to 2000, it is not captured as it needs to be captured. As it is today, I've done my consultation with them. They need some adjustment because they are also with the conviction that, and they are also with the assurance that the allege that people put on them, that they were used as tool, they don't want to be used again. So to avoid that, their rights and functions should be well spelled in the draft constitution. So that no authority from anywhere will dictate them to do something. If they are dictated, they will go to the constitution whether it's part of their mandate. Because TRRC is a living witness and a classroom for all of them, or all of us. Only the military, the police, nothing about the immigration, the intelligence services, only their names have been mentioned there. And then I see no provision that says an act of parliament should come to define the functions of these institutions. So to me, I'm not satisfied to allow this draft constitution to go like this when we don't take care of our security institutions, because I don't want what had happened to happen again. So, Madam Speaker, based on this, from all the good job that the CRC did, I want very good. Thank you for reminding me. This is the beauty of the debate. The last one is now. Madam Speaker, I want to say that all this talk and all this insult that were even happening shouldn't have happened. If we see this document as a shareholder thing, that I do my job, you don't just hold it and say, okay, now my job is finished, it's the National Assembly. And I want to question the office of the clerk, if he's here, if he can answer, the clerk can answer. Huh? He has no authority, but through because that's what I was looking for. When I was given this one, I went to the clerk. Are we going to have a retreat as we used to have on the budget? Because I was expecting for CRRC, after submitting this to the executive, to the president, they know the CRC. Very good. And I was also trying to rectify somebody on CRRC here. CRC, I was with the belief that when they, because now as it is now, I'm seeing it as the document from the minister, from the executive. But when it was sent to the executive, it was CRRC document. So I was with this contention and believed that CRRC would have engaged the National Assembly to have a second thought on all issues. There are this talk and this insult that people think that we are against the draft constitution, who will be avoided. Because so many issues have been raised here. Nobody, I want to make it very clear, nobody is against to have a progressive development and progressive laws of this country. But we want procedures to be followed. We want consents to be clear. We want doubts to be dealt with. So if that is done, my friend, I see myself as a citizen of this country, and I will never work in any group that will jeopardize this country. So everybody has a clean heart, based on consent and based on proper procedures. Madam Speaker, on that note, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Talinding.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. I will also like to join my colleagues to commend the CRC for a job well done. Madam Speaker, I will begin my intervention by asking whether this document, this draft constitution is qualified to go for a referendum. And I have my reasons spelled out in section 308, subsection B. The bill is submitted by, this subsection B, at least 50% of the person entitled to vote voted at the referendum. My doubt is we have many young ones who are aging and are meeting the age criteria of 18. I don't know whether these people will qualify to vote because page 37, section 77, subsection 4, electoral law also is saying that National Assembly shall not amend or repeal or introduce any law in relation to election within a period of 9 months before elections are held. So if we want to take this document to the referendum, and are we going to organize a voter registration for these children to be qualified to vote? Madam Speaker, I know CRC has consulted many groups during the drafting, but I don't think this really sounds the general opinion of every Gambian, because we received a complaint from the Gambian National Army that their inputs are not